Hi everyone, welcome to North Star Knife Reviews. Today, a little lesson, cautionary tale, opportunity for you to learn from my mistakes. I've started to do a little knife making. This is my second attempt at it, and something happened that I was not anticipating. And so I'm going to discuss it with you, let you see where I'm at, and just in case you decide to ever do this, something to keep in mind. So anyway, this is a knife that I'm working on. It's still a work in progress. I've got these stacked birch bark handles, handle that I'm making. But as you can see, there is a gap here. What happened? How did I do that? Well, let me tell you. I watched a number of videos online about the stacked birch bark handles, and so I made myself a clamp to make it. I've got a couple of pieces of scrap, maybe 5x5 squares of lumber, about half an inch thick, and cut a slit in one end for the blade to go through, cut a little hole in the other for the tang to go through, and decided I wanted to do it old school. So there is no glue in this, all right? It's just the natural resins. And what you do, instead of putting epoxy or something, you stack these, clamp them together, put them in an oven at 190 to 200 Fahrenheit. What would that be? Maybe 90, 95 Celsius, something like that. The resins liquefy, bond together, and are pretty strong. This birch bark is sort of like cork in a way, but with more resins in it. Pretty light, feels a lot like a heavy-duty cork, I suppose. Sort of a cross between cork and wood. Anyway, so what I did, I had the brass bolster, I had this buffalo horn, I had them fit properly, and then, when I said no glue, I wasn't quite honest there, I guess. These two pieces were epoxied so that they would hold. Then what I did is I cut little birch bark squares, got the papery parts off, put them on one at a time, alternating 90 degrees so the grains go different ways. And birch bark compresses, okay? So what you do, I put it in the clamp, put it in the oven at about, as I said, 190 to 200 for about an hour. And every 10 minutes or so, you take it out, you tighten the screws on the clamp so the clamp pushes in and pushes the birch bark together. When I first put it on, the birch bark went from, this was down further. So the birch bark went probably about an inch more than it does here right now. Went up to the very end of the tang. After I compressed it, I had, about this much of the tang exposed, which is, I could have just put the butt plate on and cut it off, but I wanted the handle to be, full size. I wanted it to be long enough for my hand. So what you can do, I had the first level of birch bark on, probably down to about here or so. Put on some additional birch bark, and then repeat the process to heat it and get the resins to melt and bond together. Now at that point, this was perfectly fine. This was still here. The mistake I made is I put the butt plate on. And what the problem, and here's just another blank, you can see the tang gets larger and wider as it goes toward the blade. The problem with that, not necessarily a problem, but what it does is means that the butt plate will go down to a certain point and then it will not move any further, all right? I wasn't thinking about that. I put it back in the clamp, put it in the oven, took it out, every 10 minutes, tightened it, and was able to tighten it a fair amount. Wasn't thinking about what that was doing. Because this butt plate is here and couldn't move down, it broke the epoxy seal and pulled this back. So the birch bark still got compressed, but instead of compressing this way, it compressed this way and pulled this with it. Now, part of the problem is that because my, the clamp had bored on about half an inch thick, not quite this thick, but I couldn't see that that was happening. Okay, it was hidden from me. So had I been able to see it, I could have said, "Oh crap, let's pull it out. Let's pull the butt plate off and redo it before things set up." All right. But because it was like this, I couldn't see that. So when it was done, took it out of the oven, let it cool for, half an hour, whatever, when it's cool to the touch, I took it out of the clamp and I was like, oh crap. And it took me about 2 seconds to realize what had happened. Okay. So that's where we are. I have two choices, and I know which one I'm going to do, but there are two choices. Basically, cut the handle off and start over, or keep it and use it this way. If I cut the handle off, and that's something I could do, but I'd be wasting all this birch bark. I could salvage the butt plate, probably salvage the bolster, not sure about the horn. That probably would get ruined. But then I'd start over. But it seems really wasteful to me. The other option is to keep it and use it like this. Now, this is still going to, the handle is still a work in progress. I need to do some more shaping and narrowing, thinning. It's too big right now. But keep and use it like this. And that's what I've decided to do for a couple of reasons. One, I'll still be able to use it. It's going to be a bit weaker because this is, thinner part is exposed. But it will still cut. It will still be useful. It's just going to look a little weird. All right. But it's still going to work for my purposes, and I'll just pretend that this is a large sharpening choil and I did it on purpose. So when somebody asks me, I say, "Oh yeah, I did that on purpose because I wanted this to be able to sharpen all the way to the edge or to the end." All right, I probably won't say that, but the other reason I decided to keep it is just as a memento to learning from my mistakes. All right, this is it's only the second knife I've done. I'm not done with it yet. I think this handle is going to look really nice once I get it completed. It's just this part's going to be a little messed up. But, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade if you can. And for me, wasting all of this, I was raised in rural Iowa, and you don't waste things if you don't have to. So I don't want to waste all this really beautiful birch bark. So I'm just going to keep it like this, and continue to shape the handle, of course, so it's thinner and fits better. But, I can look at this, 10 years from now and say, okay, it looks weird, but I learned something from it. And I'll still, as I say, I'll still be able to use it. It's just making a sheath might be a little more difficult for it. But, give it a shot. So, I don't like advertising my failures online, but hey, thought in case anybody is interested in making a sheath like this, just a little cautionary tale, because I really wasn't thinking of it. It never crossed my mind that when I clamped it after putting the butt plate on, that it would break the epoxy and pull it backwards. I'll make one of these again. I will leave the butt plate off until I am completely done. But other than that, I think, it'll still work. I still have a little bit of stuff to do. I have to peen the tang. I'll probably cut a little bit of this off because it's a little longer than I'd want. And then peen it, finish shaping the handle, give it some oil, and you know what? I think it'll look okay. We've got it's coming there. If not for this, it would probably be good. Anyway, there you go. Learn from my mistakes. Have yourself some lemonade. You have a good day. I will catch you next time.